Hi, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to look at amplifiers. We're going to look at different types and what is good for you. We're going to look at different amps today. We're going to look at some different solutions that guitar players might want to consider. This goes out to anybody that's really looking for amp options and don't know what to go. Right now, amps are really they're sort of inexpensive. Tube amps seem to be on the second-hand market quite cheap. Parts are getting more and more expensive for them. The last tube amp I was sort of had to buy tubes for was like a Hot Rod Deluxe, and it was costing me around about £120. This was just after the war in Russia and Ukraine had sort of started, and I think it's to do with tariffs and people's like sanctions on imports and things like that. And because I know some of the tubes were made in Russia, some are made in China, some are made in the USA. But I think the supply of valves and tubes has sort of diminished somewhat. So it's a little bit more tricky to get tubes. I've still got quite a few lying around. It's just one of those things, really. I still like the sound and response of a valve amp. I have a little valve amp that I always practice with here, and it is, there it is, look, it's a Vox Night Train. Very small, compact little amp. Weighs a little bit because, you know, it's a tube amp. It's 15 watt. You can turn it up to about half on the master volume, and that would be enough to do a gig or rehearsals with. And when I'm in the house, it's up to about a quarter, which gets it really singing, and it does sing. It's really responsive. It's like playing an acoustic guitar in the sense that, you know, you whack that guitar and it gets louder. So that's really cool. In the demo, we're going to look at the Boss Katana. Again, not a tube amp. Sounds great, responds great. We're going to look at the Fender Deluxe Reverb. Fantastic amp. We're going to look at modelers and using those. So let's get into it.
Got some cool stuff going on here. Got some amps. Now this one here is the first one I'm going to look at. I think 15 watts is kind of perfect if you are doing gigs in small venues. So you might be doing small venue stuff. You might be working. You might be teaching. You might be doing sort of clubs, music venues. You might be band practicing. You might be recording. This is one that I really like. This amp. This is the Vox Night Train combo. It's the only amp out there with a girth switch, which is pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I use all my amps personally as a pedal platform. So what I mean by that is I'm using the amp to essentially be a clean vessel for the effects pedals that I'm using. So I've got my little board. I'm not going to say that it's ridiculously big board for what I need, and I'm just going to run it for you to show you this as an option, really. So the only thing to notice about this amp, the Night Train, obviously tube amps, living with a tube amp's different to a normal sort of solid state amp or a digital amp. Tube amps need to warm up. Now they stand by and on normally. So this amp has a little fan running as well, which I don't know if the mic can pick it up. I'm using a nice 606. Built-in reverb, isn't that? They're not silent tube amps, not normally. That's just the neck pickup. Right, so I've got a room mic in here to kind of pick up my experience. It's placed kind of by where my head is. And it's got a lovely chimey, voxy thing going on. And the volume is on half. This is what I love about the tube amps. You start using gain, you start getting this kind of I'm going to put my little protein pedal on. Kind of comes to life. Here's the king of tone. Get it to unity gain. Lots of humming. And turn that off. Sounds nice and clean. I usually use a compressor, so listen to this with a compressor. Without a compressor, so what that's doing is it's super responsive to my playing. It's really warm and it's got a lot of high end, but the high end's got a richness to it. This is like one of my favourite things that this amp does. It's got a thick setting in the clean channel. That's from the clean channel. Excellent. It's super responsive. I mean, I'm going to get a humbucker guitar. With a humbucker guitar, things just get that little bit louder. Turn it down a little bit. It's a little bit more. Notice how it's not actually that far away from a Telecaster sound. This is a Les Paul with PAFs. So let's put it back onto the clean kind of sound. Just sounds wicked. Sounds wicked. So that's the tube amp experience. It's just a little bit noisy, but it doesn't matter really when you're live. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to mute the room microphone. And you can hear there that it's, you know, you can hear what hums or noises it generates, and you can decide for yourself whether you think that's annoying or not. So most people would see this as a professional guitar, a professional level volume amp. This is a Deluxe Reverb, it's a reissue model. Some cool little quirks about this. If I turn this up, you can hear it humming in the air tonight. Okay. So let's just hear this. This is my favourite sounding amp. So what's going on with this is it's just set to between 3 and 4. Sort of breaks up a little bit. Let's turn the master down a little bit. I think this King of Tone really snarly. This is my usual overdrives, the Protein. That sound. And then the other thing I use is the Nobel side, the green side. So just using that distortion bit. Wants to it's kind of saturated, creamy. I don't really know how to describe it without using food terminology. This is a single coil guitar. I used to find the bright cap on these to be quite too much bright, high end, so that you can get a mod where the cap's been cut basically and it doesn't use it. Sounds nice, doesn't it? If I compress it a bit. Use a bit of verb. It sounds great, right? But it's very, very loud when it's in the sweet spot. So this is why I've got the 15 watt tube amp, because the 15 watt tube amp, you know, gigging levels, it's turned up to half. Gigging levels, this is turned up to 3. I'm not turning it up more than 3 if I'm allowed an amp in the first place, which will bring me on to another point in a second. So we'll move on to the next amp. Alright, this amp, I've got to be honest, I love this amp. This is a Boss Katana Mark 1. So the Boss Katana Mark 1 was a hit. I think they're really useful, really versatile. I used this amp in my music school for the young uns to use. So let's have a look at this. This amp has sat here, switched on silently for the whole demo, waiting for its turn. I've plugged it in. It's digital, this amp. Sounds really good. So this amp is supposed to be a 50 watt amp. Let's just have a look at these. So that first one I demoed was 15 watts. There's no correlation, reasonable correlation that I'm going to make between wattage and how loud it is. It's more about how the amp behaves. The second one was 22.5 watts, but was absolutely full of headroom, full of lushness. This sounds big. Sounds nice and clean. But I'm having to turn it up. I'm going to try it with a humbucker. Oh, just before I do, check this out. I'm going to put a compressor on. The whole thing comes to life then. Let's put my little pedal on. Savage. Right, great sounding amp. You noticed it started to do a bit of that when you put extra gain in there. It does get louder, it steps up. This is kind of part of the headroom thing that people talk about. So the more headroom you've got, the more ability you've got to do things like that. So with a Les Paul, that's with the compressor on, the compressor off. It's great, isn't it? Try it with the that's a Boss Katana. You can buy these now for around £100. You know, they're a $100 amp. Let's put a King of Tone in front. Sounds cool, doesn't it? Alright, so this is the next step really. And this is kind of what I wanted to really show was what else might be right for you. So let's think outside the box. Modelers. I've got here the UAFX Lion pedal. So I'm going to rig that up. And this is what I would normally take to a gig when I'm using the Lion. So this is a speaker, okay? It's nothing special, it's just a PA speaker. So people take flat frequency responses, FRFRs they're called. I'm really sorry to say, it's just a PA speaker. You're just buying PA speakers, youth. Sorry, mate. I'm going to mic it up. That's weird. That feels and looks weird. It's a PA speaker going into the UAFX Lion. Right, so I've got a really cool little, I've got a nice little setting here. I'll turn the volumes up. I'm running, I mean it's a bit hummy in here because of the way the lights are, which sucks, but you know, it's the way the kitchen is. I didn't build it. This is basically using a modeler like a UAFX Lion. So that's what I'm rocking here. I've got a UAFX Lion. I've got my microphone going just so I can capture it. The microphone's in front of a little PA speaker, 8-inch PA speaker, weighs half the amount of all these amps. So I mean, going from weights, you know, you've got your Katana that's pretty light, you know, 10 kilos ish. Then you've got your Vox, which is about 15-17 kilos, and you've got this thing. I even want to say how heavy it is, but it's very heavy. I also have a Toadmaster version. I recommend the Toadmaster, to be fair. It's just great. I'm gonna. This is like for people. This is for people who've been doing it that long. We do a lot of gigs day in day out. We're sick of carrying everything. You're more likely to get mugged on the way home. Take my PA speaker, don't take my amp. You know. Same with my pedals. I can just take this. I can fly with my little UAFX thing, and it'll sound cool. This is the bass. It's based on 68 bass. That's like kind of the amp I'm using right now. That's still really loud. There we go. I've turned it down quite a bit because it's just proper loud. Alright, if I do something here, I'm going to just go manual with this amp. So this sounds like one of those greenback 4x12s. And if I put this into So that's what I'm using to gig with at the moment. I've turned my volume off and it's gone silent because it's just coming out of a rig and I've got a PA speaker. Turn it up. The clean tone is that good, and it's got that much headroom. I can plug pedals in. It makes a great pedal platform. So if I start, it's a bit too much reverb. Hold on. Crank that. But it just sounds huge. Everything just sounds huge with it all the time. So that is another way you can go, and it's modular. So if your PA speaker goes, you know, most venues will have a PA speaker that you can use. You could, you know, do the in-ear monitor thing and just have that on stage as a backup. You can do loads of stuff.
Thank you for watching. I'd like to just ask that you subscribe. Remember, we've got a prize draw for a subscriber, but if you like the content, please leave a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are, and we'll see you next time.